And welcome back to Take Action News, everybody. David Shuster here on our March 23rd weekend edition. This is the time in the show we like to highlight somebody who is doing something in his or her community or the global community to try to make a difference. This is the time when we honor somebody as Activist of the Week. And this week, we are so honored and thrilled to name our Activist of the Week as Valerie Plame Wilson. It's a name you may know well. She was, of course, the former CIA agent who was outed by the Bush administration when they tried to get back at her husband for blowing the lid on what was really going on in terms of the run-up to the Iraq War. But we're going to talk with her in just a sec. But Valerie, first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, David. I'm delighted to be here and really honored that you selected me this week.
We selected you because of your work for Global Zero, which is the international movement for the elimination of nuclear weapons. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing for Global Zero and why you're doing it now.
Well, we're doing it now. We're calling on President Obama to do two things. One is to further reductions in the nuclear arsenals of the U.S. and Russia. And they're the ones that have the vast majority of nuclear weapons, about 90% in the world. But there's also a next big, really historic step, and we're calling on President Obama to call together all the nuclear powers in the world, have them sit down at the negotiating table, and begin to talk about real cuts in the nuclear arsenals, because these are weapons that no longer keep us safe. You know, they really belong in the dustbin of history. The expense is extraordinary, and the risk, even though the Cold War is over, paradoxically, the risk is so much greater now of a nuclear accident because nuclear technology is so much more widespread now, and the emergent threat of the terrorists, Al-Qaeda and their affiliates and others that are actively seeking a nuclear capability. So Global Zero has done amazing work, and people like myself and Queen Noor and Gorbachev and Tony Blair, Kissinger, Schultz, I mean, across the political international spectrum, also students have all put their energy and their time into Global Zero because it is by far the premier group that is trying to make a world without nuclear weapons.
It was almost 5 years ago when President Obama gave a famous speech in Prague, 2009, and when he announced America's commitment to eliminating all nuclear weapons globally. What specifically would you like the president to say as we mark this 5-year anniversary in terms of continuing to put the United States on that course?
I would love to have President Obama say, you know, because this is absolutely critical to everything that we're doing, to going forward as the United States, citizens of the world, we have to pull all the leaders of the nuclear armed nations together and start talking about how to reduce our nuclear arsenals in ways that make sense, step-by-step orchestrated process. You know, Obama clearly is thinking legacy as he was elected, of course, to a second term, and what could be more profound and more longer-lasting than the fact that he put the United States and the rest of the world on this path towards zero nuclear weapons. As you well know, I used to work for the CIA, and I worked in counterproliferation, trying to make sure the bad guys don't get nuclear weapons. But my personal viewpoint has evolved from where I was at the CIA, which is just kind of delay or deter or do covert action to try to make sure that the terrorists or rogue nations don't get a hold of nuclear weapons or their components. I am now fully of the belief that you have to drain the swamp. You know, you can't say, oh, it's okay just for the Western nations to be nuclear armed, we've just been lucky. By my account, we have been lucky for the last 5 decades that there hasn't been an accident or miscalculation, and we can't, luck runs out eventually.